Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about something a little more raw, a little more real, and something that doesn't get talked about enough. I usually share the empowering part of being single in midlife, the freedom, the peace, the joy of living life on your own terms. And all of that is absolutely true. But this week I wanted to open up about the other side, the hard things about being single in midlife. Because let's be honest, sometimes it's just a lot. When you're single in midlife, it can feel like all of the responsibilities land on your shoulders. You're the only one managing your day to day life, and you're the only one making the decisions, and you're the only one holding it all together. There's no one to hand things off to, no one to tag when you're just too tired. And while I wouldn't trade my independence for anything, there are days when the weight of it all feels just a little heavy. Like recently, I found myself juggling everything all at once. My own life, my home, and then there's my family. You know, people assume that once your kids are grown, the hard part is over. But in many ways, this stage of motherhood brings its own kind of heaviness. When they're little, you're physically exhausted, but when they're grown, your heart gets tired. My four children are all adults now. They're good humans. They're smart, they're capable, they're loving, and they don't rely on me for daily tasks or financial help. But when life gets hard and when something heavy happens, they still come to me because I'm their mom and I've always been the steady one, the safe one. And honestly, I want to be that for them. But there are four of them, and they all have lives, careers, marriages, or children of their own. And when something goes wrong for one of them, it impacts me deeply because I don't just hear about their struggles, I feel them. One of my children welcomed a baby who was born with disabilities. So there's much love in that story, but there's also fear, grief, and overwhelm. And as a mom, you carry that second hand. You ache for them and you want to fix it even though you can't. And when an adult child goes through a divorce, you want to take that pain away too. My youngest daughter recently got sick after getting 3 tick bites. She ended up in the hospital and spending a week with me so I could take care of her. So here I am holding space for each of their situations, answering texts, taking calls, offering advice and emotional support, and sometimes just listening while they cry or vent. I'm grateful that they trust me enough to come to me, but being the emotional anchor for multiple grown adults while also managing my own life can feel like treading water, trying to keep everyone afloat while you're secretly exhausted yourself. It's a strange place to be in midlife where you're no longer needed in the day to day logistics of parenting, but you're needed in deeper, more emotional ways. And when you're single, you don't have that built in sounding board at home. You can't turn to a partner at the end of the night and say, wow, that was a lot today. Instead, you process it alone. And I think a lot of women in this stage of life are doing exactly that. And while we can't always step away from the role that we play in our children's lives, we can start getting more honest about how much we're carrying and how much we also need care, compassion, and rest also. On top of that, my mom is preparing for surgery next month, so I'll be staying with her for a few weeks to help her recover. Then when I get home, one of my grandsons will be having a major surgery also, and I'll be right back in the caregiving mode. Now, don't get me wrong, I am grateful to be able to be there for them. I wouldn't have it any other way. But here's what I want to say to anyone who's walking a similar path. Just because you're grateful doesn't mean that it's not hard. You can be thankful and still feel overwhelmed. You can love your people and you can still feel like you're running on empty. In a lot of my videos, I talk about setting boundaries, about saying no when you're stretched too thin, and about honoring your energy and protecting your peace. And I still believe that deeply. But the truth is, there are some moments in life when you simply can't say no. When someone you love is facing something life changing, when they're sick, scared, or completely unable to care for themselves, you just drop everything. You go, you show up. And some things, like being there for your parent during surgery, or being there for your grandson and helping his mom during the long recovery process, those things can't wait for your schedule to clear or your energy to return. Those are the moments when your presence matters most. And if you're anything like me, you don't even question it. You just figure it out. You rearrange your calendar, you adjust your work, you make it happen. But what often doesn't get talked about is the emotional cost of always being the strong one. When you're the one who gets the call in the middle of the night, when you're the one stepping up and holding steady, and when everyone leans on you, it's hard and it's exhausting. Not because you don't love them and not because you don't want to be there, but because sometimes the weight of being the one who shows up can feel like too much for just one person to carry. And when you're single, there's no partner to tag in, there's no one to split shifts with, and no one to pick up the slack while you rest. It's all on you. And yet you still show up because that's who you are. You're the support system, the rock, but even the rock needs rest, and even strong women need space to fall apart sometimes. If you can't say no because the moment really does call for you, say yes with your whole heart, but also start asking yourself, what do I need to recover afterward? Do I need a day of silence? Do I need to cry in the bathtub with a cup of tea and no one asking anything from me? Or do I need to call a friend and say, can you just let me vent for 10 minutes? We can't always say no to others, but we must stop saying no to ourselves. We can be there for our people and still matter too. If you're watching this and nodding along, if you're thinking, yes, that's exactly how I feel, I just want to tell you, you are not alone. I know how easy it is to feel like the only one going through it, like everyone else has more help, more support, more stability. But the truth is, there are so many of us out there, single in midlife, carrying more than most people realize. We don't always talk about it because we're used to being strong. We've gotten good at keeping it together. We don't want to sound like we're complaining because we know we have so much to be thankful for. But just because you're grateful does not mean you're not tired. And just because you're strong doesn't mean you don't need support also. You can still say, I'm doing the best I can and it's still hard. And there is nothing weak about that. That's honesty, that's courage. And it's okay to say, I love my life, but I'm carrying a lot right now. And it's also okay to cry. It's okay to feel resentful sometimes. And it's okay to not be the positive, pulled together version of yourself every single day. Because life is messy, especially in midlife. It's full of change, responsibility, and reflection. And when you're navigating it without a partner, it can feel like you're walking a tightrope with no safety net. Just because you're doing it alone doesn't mean you have to feel lonely. And just because no one is physically next to you doesn't mean you're not deeply supported in spirit. There's a whole community of women who understand exactly what you're going through. We may not have the same exact stories, but we carry the same emotional load. And when we share it, even just a little, it gets lighter. So if you're in a hard season, if you feel invisible or unseen, I want you to know we may be doing life solo, but we're not doing it alone. When you're going through these times, remember to prioritize rest. Even if it's just 10 minutes with your coffee before your day starts. Remember to fuel your body and eat well, drink water, and move your body even if it's just for a short walk. And don't be afraid to ask for help. This is hard, especially for those of us who are used to being the helper. But sometimes just saying, I'm feeling a little bit stretched, can open the door to support you didn't know was available. And don't isolate. Even if you're doing it all on your own, don't go through it all on your own. Send a text, join a support group, talk to a friend who gets it. Remember that whatever is going on is not forever. I know it can feel endless when you're in the middle of it and when you're juggling caregiving, emotional support, and everything else on your plate, but hard seasons pass. The intensity won't last forever. The surgery will be over, the crisis will settle, your child will find their footing again, your parents will recover, and you will catch your breath. But you also matter. Your health, mental, emotional, and physical, all of it matters. And I get it. It feels impossible to prioritize yourself when so many people are depending on you. But that's exactly when it becomes most important. Because if you don't protect your own well being, no one else can do it for you. And most of all, don't wait until things get easier to start caring for yourself. There may never be the perfect time to rest, recharge, or to tend to your own needs. So we have to start doing it now, right in the middle of the mess, even if it's in tiny, imperfect ways. Because when this does pass, and it will, you'll want to be ready with strength, not total exhaustion. You'll want to feel like you didn't completely abandon yourself in the process of showing up for everyone else. And that's what this whole message is really about. Yes, life is hard sometimes. Yes, being single in midlife comes with a unique kind of challenge. But we're still here, capable of building a beautiful, meaningful life, even in the midst of the hard. So please take care of yourself. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. And if you're experiencing a time where everything feels like too much, just take it one day, one moment, one deep breath at a time, and take care of yourself too. Thank you for watching.